Hello again, you're watching Everard Junction, and this is another part of the Building a Model Railway series. So as you can see, I'm continuing with building the large carriage shed that I started work on in the last part. Since you've seen that video, I've painted the whole thing. I painted it sort of institutional green sort of colour, which is a colour I've seen on some steel work, particularly bridges. I thought about painting it perhaps a red oxide sort of colour, but it's going to have a lot of brickwork on it, so I thought a green would be a nice sort of contrast to the brickwork. So as you can see, it just about fits on the desk. So now I'm going to start working on the plasticard and building up the brickwork, the windows, roof, and all the other little details and bits and bobs. So plenty of work ahead. This particular colour is a sort of matte green. It's come out quite nicely. It's made by Vallejo, which is, I believe, a Spanish paint manufacturer. I've not used too much of the Vallejo stuff in the model railway, but one thing I've always liked about their acrylic paints is they just cover the surfaces really well. You know, one coat really does go a long way, and it's perfect for painting brass like this. So this has all just had one coat, and that is enough. It just saves a bit of time. So that's the colour. It's Vallejo green. It's number 85, which I think is German uniform, but works perfectly well in this application. So I've already started working on some of the plasticard. These will be the side pieces. As you can see, I'll go in something like that. A lot more detail to add to them, obviously, windows and such. And there'll be some relief sections that will just change the profile and make it look a little bit more interesting. So I've got some more of those to cut out, and I'll start doing the cutouts for the windows and gluing stuff together and adding all the various bits of detail. And of course it will need painting. Okay, so I've cut a load of plasticard brick sections out, as you can see. There are 14 of these sections per side of the shed, and I've just done the first 14 of them for the window. So we've got quite a nice big window. Again, looking at pictures and see what sort of windows these buildings had. Those that had windows fitted, they were quite large and they were relatively high up the wall. So that's the sort of thing I've gone for. So that's 14 of them cut out. So they can now be sort of put together in a length and can actually build up one side. I'm going to have some sections going down the middle to hide all the joins and give it a bit more of a 3D interesting profile. There'll probably be a brick strengthener going along the bottom edge, various other things, and then it'll all get painted. Okay, so I've started cutting some of these little strips which will bridge the joins between each section. There'll probably be another piece that goes along the bottom in between each section. So starting to actually build up some of the walling now. The glue I'm using for this today is Plastic Magic by Deluxe Materials. I use a lot of their stuff. Previously I'd used their plastic glue, which was also very good, but I saw this and it's available in a much larger bottle, so I thought I'd give it a try, and so far it seems very good. Okay, I've glued all the sections together. I've left them in two halves at the moment just to make them a little bit more easy to handle. I'm going to be putting some more plasticard along the bottom, building up some more of the detail, and then I can actually paint them. We'll just take a moment as well to say that for this particular plasticard I'm using anyway, this glue is extremely good. I mean, we're talking from applying the glue and putting the pieces together, you can let go in about 10 seconds. It really does bond very, very quickly, and I was able to just, in the length of time it took me to prepare the pieces and start joining them together, by the time I'd got, say, this one ready, this one was dry, and you could lift it up and bend it and do whatever, and it would just stay where it was. So very impressed with this particular glue. One question you might be thinking to yourself is, why bother making individual squares and then joining them all together when you could arguably, say, get three continuous out of one length of plasticard? Well, the reason I've done it is just purely for control. On the frame itself each distance between the posts here is going to vary ever so slightly, just due to the nature of the project. So I decided to make these all in individual segments, so when it came to gluing them together I could get them to match the frame and get as much control as possible over the length and individual spacing between everything. So if we look underneath, for example, some of it is butted right up against the neighbouring piece, and then others have gaps, and that just allows me to take into account for any discrepancy either in the cutting of these pieces or in the actual dimensions of the overall frame. Okay, so starting to look quite a bit better now. So next thing I'm going to do now is paint it. There may be some more detail added on the sides, certainly be things like drain pipes and stuff like that, but I might do some extra brickwork in places when it's actually on the shed, and if needs be I'll just glue those on and paint those in as well. But for the moment I'm happy with that, so I'm going to hit it with some paint. I'm going to be trying some of the Humbrol acrylic paints. This is, I can't remember what number this is, number 70, which is supposedly a brick colour. So we'll see how it goes. Looks a little bit brown at the moment, but we'll see how it dries. Okay, so after a lot of cutting and gluing and measuring and cutting and gluing and measuring again, I've got both sides of the shed completed. This one is still wet at the moment, it's still drying, but this one is fully dry, and I think it's come out quite nicely. I wasn't too happy with the brick brown straight from the tin. It was far too, it just looked like brown. There wasn't sort of an earthy sort of orangey brick colour in there, it was just matte brown. So I added some extra colours and some reds and some oranges and some whites to lighten the colour slightly and also bring a bit of brick colour into it, and I think I've got something that resembles brick reasonably well. But as you can see, these really are quite long, they're just as long as the shed, so it's taken a number of days to get all this made. So there we are, loosely assembled on one side, and I'm very pleased with it. And as you can see, I've got the nice big windows because I'm going to want to see inside this thing, you know, for being able to see the rolling stock, give the lighting maximum effect, and also being able to see the structure underneath. So I'm quite happy with the sizing of that. I think it all looks very good. The windows will be made separately and will be installed later on while this is all together. So this will all get weathered and grimed up and everything, and the windows will be made separately on their own, and then I'll just come along and plonk them in. But not looking forward to making those because that's going to take even longer. So the next thing I'm going to do is secure the side to the shed and do both sides, and with that secured I can actually look at doing the roof, and I can start thinking about some of the extra details as well. So I'm going to use some Rocket Max super glue to secure the plasticard to the steel frame, and no reason why it shouldn't work. It should work reasonably well. And again, the frame is very flexible and very lightweight. It's not going to need a lot of effort to hold it to the actual structure. And then when I put the roof on, I can actually use some plastic glue, because the roof is plastic, so as the roof comes down I'll super glue it to the frame up here, and then can use some liquid plastic cement or whatever to join this top edge to the roof, and that should just make things even stronger. So there's the sides glued onto the shed. Basically all I did was laid the frame on its side on the floor, and then I ran a bead of super glue all around the edges of the frame where the plasticard will contact. I did say 3 pieces at a time, 3 sections with super glue. Then laid the piece over, let it dry, put a couple of clamps on it just to make sure it was going to dry properly, and then once it had dried, just literally just, because it's plasticard so it's really flimsy, so just peel away the edge up until where it's been glued, glue another bit, set it back down, and just work my way along. But it was a bit difficult to film because of the time it took for the glue to go off, so I had to work quite quickly. But there you go, there is both sides on the shed. Little bit of paint touch up to do here and there. The frame has been handled quite a lot even before the sides went on, so there's a little bit of green to add in a couple of places, and I'll touch in some of the brickwork. But it's looking good. I did paint the inside. I had a look at various pictures, and most of these buildings, particularly in a rail application, are painted a white on the inside, which is the colour you would paint it to get the best dispersion of light throughout the building, make things easy to see and easy to work on. So I've gone for a white on the inside, which should also assist the model lighting when the shed is in the dark. So there you have it. The next task will be the roof. That will be in the next video. Hopefully be able to get that completed and uploaded a little bit faster than this one. There's slightly less cutting involved. I should be able to make progress a little bit faster. As you can see, with all these individual pieces, it really does take a long time, and my time on the layout is relatively limited. So hopefully the roof won't take quite so long.